here we are.
What we think of happening is that it starts in this region around the hippocampus called the entorhinal cortex, and from there it starts to spread all over the brain. So the reason that's important is that's why Alzheimer's manifests the way it does. Because the region that the hippocampus and entorhinal cortex are important to are short-term memory. So we start to see effects in short-term memory in some processing, etc. Then as it spreads through the brain, it has some different manifestations. And the reason that's important, Shane, is that's how we differentiate someone that has Alzheimer's from, say, someone that has frontotemporal dementia or prion disease or Parkinson's disease, because in those people, in those individuals, the symptoms go in different orders. So maybe in the case of Parkinson's, you have a motor symptom first and the memory will come much, much later, if at all. In the case of frontotemporal dementia, because the frontal lobe is so important to your personality changes will occur before you start to lose memory, right? So you'll see issues with suicidality or depression or gambling, etc. So that's why that's important.
That's I mean, I kind of love that one. Not I don't, but I mean, I don't love it. But of the neurodegenerative experiences that I will no doubt have, because I'm cursed.
Why do you say that?
Because all my family lives a super long time. But unlike the rest of my family, so I know I'm going to live long, but unlike the rest of my family, I have like a lot of impulse control issues and like substance abuse issues and things like that.
But Shane, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the thing that happens with these diseases is it's a change from baseline. So if your baseline is the things you're describing, that doesn't necessarily mean that it places you at a higher risk. To my knowledge, there is no increased risk from substance abuse for Alzheimer's disease. There's increased risk for things like head injury, right? So if you've had many concussions, which I've had in my life, so I'm probably at a higher risk for neurodegenerative disease than you are. So I wouldn't worry about it. If I were you.
Well, I like the one that causes
uplifting.
That is uplifting. I mean, the one that sounds the best is on paper is the personality change. Like if someone gave you a choice, they're like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take your motor skills, or we're going to take your memory, or we're going to change your personality. I'd be like, ooh, I'll be a new person for a little while. Does it ever go like a good way? Does anyone ever get that one and they like start being super nice to everyone?
Unfortunately, no. That's such a good question. And I'll tell you
why doesn't it?
I'm thinking why, and that's such a good question. And I'll tell you my hypothesis. And
like you get a really good sense of humor. You've been like real funny. Uptight your whole life. Yeah.
So I'll tell you. So the honest answer is I don't know for sure. This is out of my area of expertise, but I can tell you what I think is happening. So the frontal lobe is the part of your brain that, and people have described this, and it's not an original thought in any way. It's like the brake, right? So your brain is telling you to just chase after every impulse, right? Basically go after everything, all these bad ideas. And the frontal cortex, which develops over, your adolescence into when you're an adult, is the brake that tells you, okay, you know what? Maybe you don't want that 20th hit of that doobie, right? Or you don't want to be, shooting up this drug, or you don't want to be acting on this impulse to call this person a motherfucker, even though they are one, right? So when the frontal cortex stops working, suddenly that brake goes away, right? So now you're going to indulge in all those impulses and call that person an MFer when previously you just like passive aggressively subtweet them, right? So all of a sudden you probably are becoming more of an asshole because you're taking the brake off. But again,
right now I'm 40. I have my like prefrontals in the prime of my life. Right now I'm only having 22 hits of weed and then subtweeting people. But this is as good as it's gonna get.
For most of us.
Right.
For most of us, yes.
Oh man, to look at my Twitter feed and be like, "Oh, I'm my best self right now." That's troubling.
But Shane, your Twitter feed is way better than mine. So again, I'm the one at risk here.